Atul Chaturvedi joining us now. We're in conversation with the Executive Chairman at Renuka Sugars on a number of things. We've seen rising palm oil prices that are now expected to taper, reduced duty on palm oil, volatility in edible oil prices, increase in ethanol usage, and of course, we'll ask him about the roadmap for ethanol blending as well going forward. Mr. Chaturvedi, great to have you with us. Thanks for taking out the time today. I wanted to first understand what's really triggered the rally in edible oil global prices as well as domestic prices, and whether or not you expect to see a sharp correction anytime soon.
Thank you for having me on your show. As far as the international values of edible oil is concerned, I think a lot of low-cost money or practically zero interest level money floating around in the world is getting parked in commodities. That is the reason you're finding commodities in the bull run. Secondly, in the US, there has been a huge diversion of soya oil into biodiesel. After Mr. Biden came onto the scene, and biodiesel again became something which is his pet subject. So that has also fueled edible oil prices worldwide. And closer home, the palm oil sector also, Indonesia and Malaysia both have been going big time as far as biodiesel is concerned. So all these factors put together, in spite of demand destruction, we've seen commodity values and especially edible oil prices going up in the world. Coming back to the Indian scene, India also is actually an importer, a big-time importer. 70% of our consumption is actually import-driven. So whatever happens in the international market is bound to reflect on our markets. But what has happened lately, and there are two interventions which the government has done. One is to reduce the duty on CPO or crude palm oil by about 5%. And the other intervention which the government has done in the last couple of days is allowing palmolene to be imported freely. In fact, palmolene or refined palm oil was in the restricted list. So now both these decisions, we are not sure whether it's going to help the objective of the government, which happened to be to give some relief to the consumer from very high prices. In fact, our experience tells us that if you reduce the duties in India, the international prices go up. And in fact, the timing of this duty reduction was also not all that great because the world prices had started becoming a little wobbly. But the moment India, which is the biggest importer of vegetable oils in the world, reduced the duties, the signal went to the international market that India is bound to come back big time in the market. And within 24 hours, the palm oil prices in both Malaysia and Indonesia went up more than the Indian duty reduction. And the other point of allowing this palmolene internationally into the country is probably a little retrograde in step because palmolene ends up competing with our own port-based refineries and probably ends up killing them. Other big factor which is going to be troublesome for the Indian refining industry is that we have an agreement with the SAFTA countries, the countries which are in and around India, like Bangladesh, Nepal and all, from where we are allowing zero duty imports. So what is actually happening is a lot of this palmolene is now going to come from Bangladesh and Nepal into India and will probably sound the death knell of our refining industry as far as Bengal is concerned or parts of Bihar and parts of Eastern UP is concerned. So that we feel is a retrograde step. In fact, after a lot of efforts in the past, we had got this put in the restricted list, but probably the government felt that opening up of olein would help in bringing down the inflation. I think these are two steps which are going to have far-reaching impact on our vegetable oil scenario. And the silver lining, which we thought would be the Indian
Sure.
response to the production, supply side response, that also seems to be a little bit of a problem with the monsoon showing signs of stress. So, and the planting of soybean till now is not very encouraging.
Sure, sure. If we talk about really the kind of import scenario also that we're looking at, what do you think can be done to reduce the dependency? I mean, currently we're seeing almost 2/3 of edible oil demand met through imports. How do you see the outlook on that front changing going forward?
As an association, we've been in serious discussions with the government that it's high time you implemented the National Mission on Oilseeds, which has been in limbo for a pretty long time. In fact, the answer for India's woes could be mustard, groundnut, and soya. These are three oilseeds which we've been telling the government you need to push and push big time. It doesn't make any sense that you keep producing wheat and rice, and troubling the water levels as far as Punjab, Haryana is concerned, and producing something which you don't require as of today, and your godowns are full. But then this requires right kind of policy interventions, and the Punjab, Haryana farmer needs to be encouraged and incentivized to divert part of its land to mustard during Rabi and probably corn or sunflower or whatever during Karif. So these are some interventions which require a different kind of thinking and a intervention at the highest level. If Indian dependence, which is almost 70%, as you rightly said, has to come down, because no country can afford to have its edible oil security compromised to such an extent. This is something which I'm surprised that till now the National Mission on Edible Oilseeds, which has been in the works for a pretty long time, has still not been officially announced. So this is something which we are expecting, and that alone can be a game changer. In fact, let me share with you the only time when the oilseed production in our country actually went up was probably sometime in 87, 88, when under Sam Pitroda, the National Technology Mission was launched for augmenting the oilseed production. That was the time where probably our oilseed production actually doubled. But the trouble is that whatever oilseed production we had achieved in the late 90s or early 2000, we are still hanging around at the same level, even though our consumption has actually gone through the roof. So over to you.
Sure. Right. Atul, also wanted to understand about prices, because sequentially there's been a slight correction year on year, but prices are still very much high. Where do you see them settling at in the near term or in the medium term for that matter?
Well, let me put things in proper perspective. I think the Indian consumer has been pampered for a very long time. In fact, for almost 2 decades, we've been accustomed to very, very low prices of edible oils, with the result that the oilseed production in the country, which should have gone up to match the rising demand, has stagnated. So I think it's high time edible oil prices need to find its right level. And this was one beautiful opportunity for edible oilseed production to actually go up in the country, because the farmers have got very good returns this year. Coming to your question as to when the prices are going to come down, I think the prices have already come down by about 20-25% in the last few weeks from the peak which they had achieved. In fact, we keep saying that this is a year of 2 halves. The first half, you saw markets in a bull run, edible oil markets in a kind of a bull run. And second half, we feel will be much more sober, because the supply side responses are coming, whether it's in America, whether it's in Latin America, In fact, sunflower production in Ukraine is probably going to go through the roof, more than 17 million tons, and so is Russia also responding big time. India also hopefully will be harvesting a reasonably good crop and probably much bigger than last year. Hopefully, our monsoons, which are playing truant a little, might, if we have to believe the Met, they might revive mid-July, and that would not mean too much of a harm as far as our domestic oilseeds is concerned. I think the worst as far as the prices is concerned is behind us. But let me tell you that the demand destruction in our country and probably in the world has been massive. As far as May and June is concerned, the demand destruction has been huge. So I won't be too surprised if our overall consumption drops significantly this year.
Sure. Just one final point, Atul, on ethanol as well. You know, given that the usage of ethanol and the thrust on use of ethanol, more importantly, has seen a massive uptake, what is the roadmap for ethanol blending in the country going forward?
I think ethanol is one subject which has probably helped in re-rating of the sugar industry. In fact, I would say I would compliment the government that this has been a brilliant move to give the required thrust to ethanol. And this thrust is coming right at the top level, at the Prime Minister's level. And I think this is a brilliant move because India was struggling with very high productions of cane, and which was troubling the sugar industry big time. And this intervention by way of blending makes eminent sense. It's welcome politically, good for environment as it reduces the carbon footprints, and it's economically something which is very, very sensible. The maximum which the government pays for ethanol may be about 60 rupees or 58 or 60 rupees, whereas as a consumer we pay about almost something like 100 odd rupees for the blended petrol. So we feel that this 20% blend, which is the government's target by 2025, could actually become a reality. Even this year, I think we could be closer to about 8% blending, which means about something like 3.25 billion liters, which is going to come from the sugar sector. And in the next couple of years, I think we should be in a position to achieve about more than 5 billion liters of ethanol production. And this could be a big game changer. Now, even the government is talking in terms of flexi-fuel cars. The other day, our Honorable Transport Minister was saying that flexi-fuel cars could become a reality in future. All these things augur well. You should actually look at it in the right perspective. Our import bill as far as crude petrol is concerned, or crude petroleum is concerned, is something like 800 lakh crores. That's a huge amount of money. If we are able to achieve a 20% blending, we are talking in terms of a saving in foreign exchange of about something like 160 lakh crores. These are big numbers, and it reduces our dependence on imports big time. Our import is almost to the tune of about 85% of our consumption. So overall, I think the policy is in the right place, and investments are coming in big time. Even our own company, we are aggressively expanding our ethanol footprint. So I think it's a welcome thing, and it will become a reality, no doubt about that. And I'm sure government is going to achieve its targets.
You know, we're talking about one mega trend, and then let's move to the other mega trend. So thank you very much for joining us.